Athlete Builder back at it. And as always, we're brought to you by the AEA Mental Edge Academy. Summer's coming right around the corner. Boot camps are set up. And fun fact is that today I got JB on, Justin Baker, a thrower, a football guy, a coach, mental performance coach. And I was lucky enough to be introduced to JB through the Mental Edge Academy. He and I were co-hosting office hours, which we do Tuesdays and Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern for 30 minutes. And we bring on national coaches like JB to talk about all the topics that build mindset, performance, teamwork, etc. So I got to meet JB, lots of energy, lots of knowledge, all about execution on the process so you can win on game day. College athlete, went to Northern Iowa, played football, was a thrower. Seems that throwing was a little more suited for him because now he's working on making the Olympic team. While he's doing that, he's earning a living being a coach at a local high school in Missouri,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Well,
And
Kansas City, Kansas.
Kansas City, Kansas. And he's also a mental performance coach, and he works with us at Mental Edge. So a lot of good things going on. We have some good stories today, awesome background. And JB, man, welcome to the show.
Appreciate it, Jim. Good to see you back. You're looking good. You've been working out. You've been
All
getting
right.
some lifting in.
Most days of the week, yeah, 4 or 5 times a week.
Yeah, you're looking good, man.
I'll lift and or swim, trying to keep it going.
Swimming is good. I've always
It
been told
is.
swimming is that full body exercise.
It
I couldn't
is.
do it very well. That was the one sport I didn't do in high school.
Me neither. Me neither, man. I know you had a big, wide variety: football, basketball, wrestling, track and field, soccer, baseball, volleyball, even, you know. But in college, it was football and track and field. Sometimes athletes are told, "Hey, man, you're great, keep going." Sometimes you or your body say, "Hey, I'm not so good here. I'm gonna slow down." But if you could pick between the two, football or track and field, which of the two did you was your favorite?
So if I could pick between the two, now I have a heart for football because I'm a big team unity guy. I'm a big, I'm a work for my brother type of guy. Like I want to build him up too.
Right?
And I was that athlete that kind of would get into like a zone where I just had to attack things and football suited that really well. I could let my anger out, I could let my aggression out. I could see myself getting better. And it just felt like that kind of aggressive sport that like men really, really want to play. So I love football, but my talent was always in track and field. I found that at an early age. And I kind of built that piece by piece. I didn't have, my high school coach, God bless him, but he was a rugby guy. He wasn't a shot put discus guy. So a lot of what I did was from my dad watching videos and him taking me to training camps. And so for me to kind of build to where I'm at, I don't know if anyone kind of has the story that I do, kind of the background that I do. And so that's been my baby. That's been my precious little gem, if you will.
In the athlete builder world, we talk about building the head and the body, and the head is their mindset. But even if you're a driven person, if JB's a driven person, he still doesn't know how to throw anything. There's the knowledge of the sport, right? And then there's what comes out of your mouth. How do you work with people? So in any one of those areas, there's going to be a limiting factor. And clearly the knowledge of the sport at one point was, even though you're quite driven. So now you're still a competing athlete. You're a high school coach. You do mental performance coaching with us at Mental Edge. If you can have the chance to win a national title in throwing, or you coach an athlete to a national title, but you only get one. You only get one,
That's tough.
and it's the rest of your life.
That's so tough. Now, okay, I'll say this. Because of where I'm at now, I had role models growing up, and I looked up to them, and I still have those same role models. And so for me, I would want to be that role model for another kid. I would want to be that role model for another guy to go, you know what, I can do it too. And so I'd have to pick myself. And I know that I'm trying to make it sound less selfish, but I would absolutely pick myself.
All right. All right. Nothing wrong with that. And by winning, yourself, you're still going to learn lessons along the way you can
Yes.
still pass on. So that's going to be huge. What position did you play in football?
So I was middle linebacker football.
Middle linebacker. So my son played.
I was a big, big middle linebacker.
Is that right? So you
Yeah.
probably weren't in track and field, you weren't running the 1-200, I'm sure, right?
Well, actually, I did. Funny enough, high school, I did run the 100 and the 200. So my best 100-meter time wasn't that fast. It was an 11:3, but it was still
Okay.
quicker than what you'd see from a big guy.
Yeah.
But I ran the 400-meter one time, and when I did, I
Died.
I died with, like, 75 meters left, and I was taking, like, little tiny baby steps, and it felt like I was climbing Mount Everest, and I said, "Coach, never again. I can't do that." Other than that, I was, one of the favorite events to watch was the Fat Man Relay, the Big Man Relay. You have all the throwers that run the 4 by 100.
All right.
So those were yeah, that's been some of those were my favorite times because my dad has a video on YouTube way, way back in the day when we broke the JV record as the Fat Man Relay. We weren't even on the JV team.
People don't realize, you don't need to breathe a whole bunch on that first 100,
Yeah.
it's not VO2 max, it's not your cardio, it's
Yep.
power. Can you run straight ahead? And if you get big boy going in one direction, look out.
Yeah, my momentum was dangerous, that's for sure.
What do you miss about football?
I missed the team. I missed the boys. I missed hanging around the boys. I missed, if you're having a bad day, you kind of need someone to kind of talk shit against your ear because if you don't, you're kind of pulling down on yourself. And so I like the idea of being able to uplift other people as well. So on the other side of it, I like to pick up my teammates. I like to hold them up. I like to pick them up off the ground. Hey, dude, you're fine. Let's get this. Let's get this. Let's get going. Let's get fired up. I was the guy that was giving those halftime speeches. I was the guy that was yelling at my guys to get fired up. Even if we were down 30 points, get fired up. And actually, fun thing, I was voted most savage. I had a pregame ritual, which don't ever do this. Anybody watching this, advisory warning, don't ever do this. But to get everybody fired up, I would rip my helmet off and I would just bang the helmet of the guy next to me and I would get fired up. We'd run. And everybody's like, dude, this guy's crazy. I'm glad he's on our side. I miss having those moments and those stories with the guys. That's probably what I miss the most.
Two athletes come to mind. One, I think it's Brian Dawkins, Philadelphia Eagles, where as he approaches the tunnel for a game, it's almost like Spider-Man crawling up the walls where he's doing that. And he's like down on all fours,
Hmm.
crawling and leaping on the walls, off the walls, bouncing off, trying to get his head right for what's about to happen because he flips a switch where it's just pure energy and savagery. And then Mike Tyson one time was tearing up before walking out into the ring in the dressing room, and he's asked like people's like, "Hey, what's going on, man?" And he goes, "I'm not sad, but I know the kind of person I have to be in the ring in a few minutes,
Yeah.
and it's destructive, and it's everything." So
Yeah, that's real.
it it is real, and it is emotional. In throwing, what do you love about throwing though?
So throwing is, there's an arousal level chart for sports psychology that we talk about. And it's how high can you get on your arousal, your energy, your amped up attitude? How high can you get before you hit a decline in your performance? And I'm someone who's always had a very, very high arousal level before I decrease. It almost seems like I never find my level where if I get too jacked up that I'm going to fall down. And so for me, being able to dive into the headspace for football, being able to have some experiences that I did when I came into track and field, I was that fired up athlete. I was an athlete like ready to rip an 800-pound deadlift at any given moment. It's the event where if you're off by just 1 inch, your balance is all over the place. So it's so technical, it's so unforgiving that it's the biggest challenge I've ever had for a sport. You have to be on point every time you're in the ring. And so for me, being able to have the pressure, use the pressure for my advantage, and then just get raw energy, it was like the perfect cyclone of an event.
Early on, man, we had a thrower on Dr. Zach Riley. He graduated Ball State. He's only two-time All-American.
Mhm.
They really didn't have a throws coach for that team, and he was basically he would travel to the meets. He'd travel to nationals sometimes by himself. Right
Really?
back at yeah, it's decades ago because he's my age, late 40s, and I'm early 50s, and we had him on. He's also an accomplished Highland Games guy.
And
Set the world record in the sheaf. Loves cabers, flipping big cabers. Anyways, he's also has his PhD in neurology,
mm,
the brain, got it out in Colorado. And so he leveraged all his time in undergrad and kept building himself. So now he's a professor at IU, Indianapolis. downtown Indy, but still throws.
Yeah.
Standing stories. I asked him what he loved about throwing. He goes, he knew he wasn't as technical as how you just put it.
Hmm.
He goes, I just love the controlled chaos.
I love that.
I got to be so out of control going as fast as I can, but I got to stay inside this ring where if I fall or whatever, if I let go at a wrong point, the leverage is off, the physics is off, right? Because sports are about forcing games of physics
Yep.
oftentimes. And he goes, I love the controlled chaos where I'm just, every time I just let it go. I don't hold back. I'm not worried about this and that. But I keep working on my technique. And, he's strong as fuck. Like in his 40s, he was, for context, he's a big boy. He's, weighs 320 probably,
Hmm.
but he's a 325 hang power snatch,
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
three hang 25
Snatch?
hang power
Oh, that's
snatch.
crazy. Yeah.
Great barbell work. Anyways, the controlled chaos. And so that kind of aligns with what you just said. Now, when people think of throwing, they usually think shot, disc. Some will think hammer. Few will think javelin. Totally different athlete, right? Of the three, shot, disc, hammer, a lot of times in different states, they don't even throw hammer in high school. Kind of like triple jump. They don't do that
Hmm.
either a lot of times in high school, which is a huge power measure, the triple jump. Of the three, which one, like, how would you rank them and ones that you'd like to do?
So the ones that I would like to do, so shot put's my number one. It's been my baby forever. I ended up with a career-ending injury to my wrist, so I can't really throw shot put all too well anymore. But that was my favorite because that's where you can unleash crazy amounts of energy in it. So I would go shot put number one, hammer number two for sure. Then I would go discus. Even though I started my career absolutely loving discus, learning about the other sports, learning how to use speed for your advantage. In hammer throw, there's no event where you go faster. I mean, even like maybe the 100-meter dash where you're moving your feet real fast, but other than that, there's no event where you're spinning that fast. And I mean, I was a Tasmanian devil. My dad used to call you, dude, you're a Tasmanian devil out there. You just turn, I can't even see what you're doing. And so being able to not be capped on my speed, I loved hammer throw for that. And I wish I would have had it in my, like you said, didn't have it in high school, and I wish I would have. I really wish I would have. Had I known that I had kind of a hidden talent for it, if we ever figured that out, me and my dad definitely would have transitioned to that for sure.
You're in one of the few sports where if the parameters weren't set up correctly, a mistake could lead to death.
Yeah.
So getting hit with a hammer or a discus flying, gonna not just knock them out. It's gonna knock their head off. How long have you been working at the nuances though? Like if you haven't been doing hammer your whole life, but I saw here that at your first time even doing track and field, you're like seventh place nationals.
Yeah.
So you're starting off at a high level. But how long have you been working on this?
So the first time I even picked up a shot put was sixth grade, the summer of fifth grade going into sixth grade. And so, good story there. What happened was my mom and dad were getting separated, and I was acting out on my mom. My dad was a disciplinarian. He was a Navy guy, big control guy. So when my dad was out of the picture, I would get mad and I would put a hole in the wall, and I was like 5'2" as a 10-year-old. I was pretty big. And so my mom's 5'4", so she didn't know what to do with me. I'm putting holes in the wall and pushing my mom away. She would go to spank me, and I'd have enough strength to push her away. I think that's when my mom said, "You know what? I'm done with this." So she sent me to Kansas City. I was in Iowa at the time. She sent me to Kansas City to my uncle, and my uncle was an athlete through and through. Played every sport you can imagine. Big wrestling guy, so he'd be able to take me down if he needed to. But he was big on discipline, and so she sent me out there. First couple nights I was acting up. I took a shower, walked out butt naked, trying to find a towel. Can't find a towel, and I see a towel in a chair, and I'm going over to it, and all of a sudden he comes off. He comes out the back with a belt and beats me. He's like, "Yeah, no, no shot. You ain't playing that game with me." And then my punishment was to join the track team with my cousin. He said, "You're gonna join him, and you're just gonna do what he does." So I bounced around between 100-meter dash, high jump, doing all these different things that I thought I was good. And when you get to a specialized kind of event, AAU team, USATF team, you get exposed for how much you're not the guy. And so I'm running 100-meter dash, and I look like the fat kid chasing after an ice cream truck. And I'm like, this is not like I thought I was good. I'm not good. I thought I was fast. I'm not fast. And I thought I could jump high. Can't jump high. And my uncle kind of comes into practice a couple weeks later, and he's like, "Why are you on the track?" And he just shoves me in the ring, puts a shot put in my hand. He said, "Just learn how to throw it." I didn't talk to a coach, nobody. I just would just throw it, throw it, throw it, and then finally a coach came. Said, "Hey, what are you doing over here? We're in distance." Okay, I don't know what that is. I walk over there and she trained. She was a young gal from KU doing her trying to get her graduate. What is that called? When you do a little program to get your graduate
It's not
practicum.
an
She was doing like a
internship,
little
maybe a
practicum kind of thing. And
gotcha.
so she trained me. And so that year I went from, not only did I start that year, I was like halfway in between practices. They had way more practices than I had. And I threw it. And I just listened to what other guys would talk about. I'd hear guys say, stay low. I would stay low for every throw after that. I hear guys say, keep your hips back. I would keep my hips back after that. And I would just listen to what every coach is saying. And I would just say, I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that. And then I ended up, qualifying out of districts, qualifying out of this and that. And all of a sudden, before you know it, me and my dad are flying to West Virginia to go compete at nationals. And so yeah, that was a crazy experience to be able to go from literally not even knowing the name of the event to going to nationals and competing with the best of the best.
Clearly, there is some raw power there, but you had to elevate quickly because you're sitting there like this physical sponge soaking up every little nuance, or because you're not getting coached, you're dying of thirst for the knowledge. Finally, you get a little piece, you're like, oh, sweet, I got a piece. So then you're so grateful, I got a piece. Oh, stay low. Shit, something. Okay, I can stay low.
Mhm.
I'm gonna do that 1,000 times until I'm not supposed to stay low anymore.
Exactly
And
right.
so if you can get one piece and beat it to death, so now it is ingrained in who you are and how you do things. Now it's pure mastery. Now move on to the next thing, man. I'm not saying that's the way to do it, but your ability to focus super, super high, right? Now you mentioned about having a career-ending injury. Did you tear a pec? Was it a rotator cuff? Was it
So I
something
broke
upper
part of the
body?
metatarsal in my wrist. So
Gotcha.
right down here in my wrist. So if I were to throw, funny enough, I threw the other day with the kids, and you can kind of see like a little bump. Maybe you can't see
Mm,
it, but every time I
yep.
throw it, it flares up, and it's just so much pain. I can't do anything. So 2016 nationals, I broke it training for nationals, and so that meet I was trying to beat Krauser. Krauser, it was Krauser's last year. It was my last year. I was trying to beat Krauser, and me and my coach are training, and I'm hitting like 22 meters, and I'm going, dude, I could be really good at this. It's starting, everything's starting to come together. When you get to nationals, you get 2 weeks to train, and I don't have to do 3 sports anymore. I just focus on shot put, or shot put or hammer, whatever it is. And yeah, during one of the sessions, I threw it, something kind of popped. I didn't really like it, and I couldn't throw.
Mm,
I'm not a big trainer guy. I have a lot of stoic stuff about me. Didn't really tell anybody. It just kept hurting and hurting and hurting. And eventually, I kind of go in because I can't even throw 10 feet without it kind of flaring up. And that's when they give
mm.
me a cortisone shot to give me my best chance to go to nationals. But after that, it was never the same. The hand was never the same. Couldn't push nearly as hard as I wanted to.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that's kind of what happened there. And surgery would fix it, but it was one of those things where I didn't want to push it when I had hammer throw that I was good at and training for when I could focus on that.
Gotcha. There's a book by Stuart McGill and Brian Carroll. It's called The Gift of Injury. And Stuart McGill is a world-renowned back guy, chiropractor. Brian Carroll, I think, is squatting 1,200 at the time in a suit and obliterates a couple of vertebrae. And the point is how to come back and how to reframe an injury. So I copied that as one of the chapters in my book, the Gift of Injury, and talked about all the huge benefits an injury can bring you if you frame it correctly. And I have a note here that you went from injury to All-American in the same season.
hmm
So talk about share with us that story and like, holy shit, how does that happen?
So, so it's real simple. I broke it down into math as far as what it takes to be a national champion. Me and
Well,
my
what was the
me and my
injury?
coach
What
said
was
you're
the
gonna.
injury at first?
So I had a couple of injuries. So I had partially torn part of my groin, and then I had a spiral fracture in my foot in the middle of my foot. So I couldn't even walk without a boot. So I'd walk with the boot to practice, throw on shoes and kill practice, and then put the boot back on and stumble back to my dorm. And the
Mm.
groin was one where it was an endurance thing. So on an endurance level, you can only do like 10 reps before you all of a sudden can't really use it anymore. And so it wasn't necessarily one of those where, hey, I can't or can't do this. It was I only have 10 throws to kind of work with. And so we did the math on what it would take to get to nationals. We said you need 30 throws per day, 30 throws per practice. And I could only get in maybe 6 to 10. And so coach said, you're not going to make it if you can't get these practices in. What are we going to do? And it just so happens that week in my sports psychology courses, we learned about mental rehearsal, we learned about visualization, and we learned that the body doesn't know the difference between the two. And so I just went ham on it. I just went as hard as I could. And I would sit and practice and I would visualize. And I had to, and actually funny enough, I was really bad at visualization. I was the kid that if you were to visualize me catching a ball, in my mind I would drop it. It was the weirdest thing. I couldn't
No.
focus on do the activity right. And so I had to start small, imagine an apple and kind of build myself up. I mean, I'm a big kinesthetic learner. I learn with my body. And so like I would do all sorts of crazy things. You wouldn't believe it. Um, I think people looked at me the wrong way. I would sit in the ring and I would like close my eyes in the ring. I wanted to put myself in that position. I would hold the hammer the way the hammer was supposed to be held, and I would close my eyes and imagine my footwork, and I would get as real as possible. And one of the things that kind of started to help me was to have a repeating sound of my footwork in the background. And so the sound really helped me kind of tap into those moments where I could feel it and move it and throw it in my own visual mind. But that was the only reason why I was able to have the confidence that I did coming in and doing what we needed to do. So that was my junior year, would have been 2015. Uh, what we had to talk about was the strength, because my coach was a sports side guy. What are we going to do to get your strength where it needs to be? And so we had done the kinesthetics, and we looked at what you have to do to throw. I know I'm getting kind of in deep in here, but 2.5 times your body weight is what you needed. And at the time, I was already squatting 700 pounds. So I was over what I needed by about 60 to 70 pounds. So I knew that when I came back from my injury, I had about a 6 week window. When I came back, I knew that I had to build my strength to 2.5. I need to be able to get 30 reps in. And then I knew that I already had the technique. I was learning the technique in my mind. I was getting everything figured out. All I needed was a strength component. And so we did Bulgarian style lifting, which is the fastest way to build your strength in a short amount of time. And I ended up being able to squat 650. That was the golden number that I needed. And so I had all the confidence I
Hmm.
needed going into it. And so jumping in, I was already I had so much mental rehearsal that I could use when I was on the sideline. So when we went to nationals, after each throw, I could mentally rehearse the technique that I needed. And the guys would try to rehearse on the grass and do their different warm up techniques. And it was raining that day, so they were slipping and stuff. And so I could sit on the bench and close my eyes and go through that moment and be as precise as I could. And when you get to an elite level, you can change things at an inch at a time. And that's what led me to
Hmm.
my success. Being able to know, hey, I missed this by 3 inches to the left. And so in my mind, I would fix it. Get my rhythm, get my hands, get my balance, full release. And so then I'd go into the ring, and it just felt like I was just pushing play on a recorder. I just let it go. And so that's when I tapped into just how powerful the mind.
Bang. So many lessons there. So let's see if I can go through them. The visualization piece. And if anyone's listening along, look up the documentary, was at first on Hulu, then maybe Netflix. It's about the Blue Angels. So that's the
Okay.
acrobatics. They're up in the air, flying a million miles an hour, doing all the fun tricks. And for the daily sessions, they'll all be inside of the office, around on chairs around the table, doing visualization. So their hands are on that yoke, which steers them in the cockpit. And on the leader's count, the timing's got to be right with their eyes shut. You can see their hands move that yoke that's just not even there. To further bring home the point that mental performance, mindset, and visualization is a huge, powerful tool. Two, you added an audio piece. So one of our things on the Mental Edge Academy is that you can listen to things, right? Some people change their moods by music. You're listening for the footsteps.
Mhm.
Three, my first trip to Ohio State to see Mickey Marotti, the strength coach there, and I'm watching and learning on combine prep for some of their athletes. On the wall was the most recent NFL draft the prior year, what the average metrics were, whether it was the 40-yard dash, the bench press, the vertical jump, and then they wanted 1 and 2 standard deviations to tell you how if you're just average, this is where you're at, but if you're 1 standard deviation to the good, this is where you need to be at. And so I saw that how they hate, success leaves clues. Tony Robbins says that all the time, success leaves
Mhm.
clues. A lot of people say that, like, hey, there's math. There are legit things that success leaves clues. So if you're an athlete and you're trying to win at nationals or be an All-American, like it says here that you were that year, you're probably not creating enough force in your sport if you're a 135 squat or a 225 or a 1 times body weight or one, there are numbers. So back to that Zach Riley guy, he always knew that if he was a 550 front squat, he's probably going to be pretty good. And if he can
Mhm.
snatch in the low threes, he's probably going to be pretty good because he has the correlation from the math, from the clues from the other greats before him. So JB's here. He's doing the visualization, he's doing the audio work, he's learning all the cues. He adds in the training piece, got a teammate helping him there, so he's basically applying everything in the athlete builder model to a T and comes back to be an All-American. And for those who don't know that Bulgarian method that he referenced, it's basically you max out every time you lift. It's all
Every
about
single time.
absolute strength, absolute power. Sometimes those guys would lift 3 times a day, work
Mhm.
up to a max, and do their accessories and then move on. Very, very boring. They're not doing a ton of different things, but they're always maxing out. So that's why they always did so well, but also had the shortest careers because the body can't handle that.
Yep.
And then comes West Side Barbell Conjugate and things just roll from there. But man, what a huge story and the lessons brought home there, man. My goodness. What about I always like to throw this name out. Are you an Al Order fan?
I love Out Order.
Do you
I
know who
love
he
to
is?
my one of my favorite stories, was Out Order just to kinda punk everybody, he'd have a cigarette. He a professional athlete. He'd have a cigarette in his mouth, and when it came time to throw, he would put the cigarette on the toe board, of all places, on the toe board where you gotta finish your throw. A lot can happen there. He'd bomb it 10, 20 feet past everybody, then he'd pick up his cigarette, smoke a puff, walk out the ring. And that was the funniest thing to me because they would say later on he was never a smoker. He just did that just to punk everybody.
Just to
But
mess
yeah,
with
I
people? Shit.
a lot of the research. I mean, he was the one that made the rotational spin happen. He was the one that used the kinesthetic scientists and everything to kind of develop that. Yeah.
What I know about him, which isn't nearly enough, is that I believe he's a 4-time gold medalist, same event, 4 different Olympics. In 1 year, he had torn his abdomen. He tore his core muscles. And when you throw, there's all that torque
Yeah.
running through your body, right? And to be able to hold and brace and still make it happen and then win gold that year, that dude is basically a legend.
Mhm.
Tell me midnight practice ritual. What the hell is that?
Oh man. So it was my freshman year, right? So my freshman year, we're going to Nebraska for a track meet. In Nebraska, this meet is a very, very big meet, but it's sentimental to me because in high school, the guy that said I would never make it was coaching at Nebraska that year. So when I was getting recruited, me and my dad worked really hard to branch out, talk to a lot of people. I had about like eight or 10 schools in mind. And one of the ones I wanted to go to, I don't want to use the coach's name. Um, me and my dad had emailed him and we let him know that I was interested in their school and I was going to do both football and track for him. And he called and he said, "We can give you like a 10% scholarship." I was like, "What?" I was like, "I haven't gotten anything under 80%. Like, what are you talking?" And so I had it on speaker and my dad grabbed the phone. He said, "Hey, this is Doug Baker. as Justin's father here, 10% seems a little low, does it not? Like, where are you getting that number from? He said, "Well, we got to look at the facts. He's never going to be an All American. He's never going to be a conference All American. He's not going to score points for us at conference, but he's good enough at all events to be able to be a decathlete for us." I said, "What? That doesn't make any sense." And so I was so mad. My dad hung up the phone right away and he said, "Hey, put respect on yourself. I know you love that school. That is your number one option." He says, I think you need to cut that out." And I was like, "Yeah, you're exactly right. Like, that's not going to be one of the schools I go to anymore." And so this coach was at Nebraska that year, and I was in a mental absolute focus for my event. I'm training. I'm doing 3 times the amount of work that you're supposed to be doing. If coach told me to have 10 throws, I'd throw 30. I didn't want to leave practice. Coach was staying up late for me at practice. And leading up to the event, I'm feeling really good. I'm throwing PRs in practice. And I'm like angry throwing too. So there's a lot of emotion involved. And I get sick 2 days before it's time to go. So I miss a practice. And in my head, I'm thinking, I missed these many throws. And I get through my sickness. It was a 24-hour bud. And my roommate, my best friend, shout out Andres, he has a truck. And so we drive on campus through the grass to the track, and he's just shining his lights so that I can see how far I'm throwing and I can see movements and everything. And it was a midnight practice. The cops had come and like kicked us out and everything, but we got 30, 40 minutes of a good practice in. And the following year, we had Snapchat at the time. It popped up on Snapchat that we did it. And so look at him, I'm like, dude, we might as well go back and do it again. And so it became something every year we would have. There was a tradition for that meet to have that midnight practice. It kind of brought me back, and a lot of emotions from having those. I just wanted to be so good. I wanted to shove it in his face. I wanted to beat every single one of his athletes, which I did, by the way. But it was an eventful thing to look back on. I love those memories.
I know you've coached people in mental performance, even in sales training, but you also coach it with athletes. You just talk through a component yourself, and there's a human element there, which I'm not sure why it's true, but it just definitely is. Like when I'm talking to people at the gym or in business, like it's almost 2 to 1 or 3 to 1. There's the carrot and the stick. The carrot's the pleasure. You're chasing something that feels good, something that's a reward, a bonus. Then there's the stick. It's all pain. You get hit with the sticks. The carrot is what moves the horse forward. If you hang the carrot in front of the horse's face, and the stick is when you beat his ass, makes him move forward as well. And you typically use both. Typically, you use both, right? So when I talk to people, they will much rather avoid the pain, do the things to be out of pain, than they will to seek out something equally pleasurable or valuable, right? And I have this girl, she's training in my gym. This happened today. She's doing this little circuit, but one component of it, and she's young, so it's nothing very, very sophisticated, but we're doing these 2 broad jumps. And the first time she does these 2 broad jumps, she's trying to jump as far as she can. I'm showing her, and she's doing her best. I just grab a marker and I put the marker down where her heel landed on that second jump because it's one after another. And then I said, the next time around, I said, all right, check this out. And she goes, you want me to jump past that? I said, well, if you want to. She goes, yeah, I definitely want to. So then she jumps past that. I said, so we improve what we measure, right? She's kind of looking at me and said, I just measured you. I just used a marker. There's no tape out here. There's no ruler. We don't know how far it is. I used a marker. I measured it by a blue marker and you jump further. All right. So that was her second time. The third time comes around. I said, all right, this is tough because you just jumped much further than you did the first time. But in your head, if you jump further this third time, you're going to get a shirt and a new water bottle. And we always do a lot of banded work, a lot of pull parts. I said, but if you don't, I'm going to pull this band back and I'm going to let it smack you. And she looks at me with wide eyes. I said, none of this is really real. All right. But
Yeah.
in your head, here's a reward and here's pain. All right. And she goes, oh man. I said, so what are you thinking about? Well, I'm thinking about the reward. I'm thinking about the pain. I said, what do you need to think about? She kind of looks at me. I said, all you can do is control what you can control. So we're going to
Mm.
work on you I want your hips back and your hands back, and you're gonna throw your hips forward and your hands forward, you jump as far as you can. And before she jumps, she goes, "No smack." Like, I'm literally gonna smack her. Like, there's 20 people around me. Like, there's no way this is
Yeah.
gonna happen. But in her head, she already she has herself worked up. And I'm like, I even told her, "This isn't gonna happen, but I want you to kind of like imagine it." And sure enough, she jumps further. So you improve what you measure and add a little carrot and stick to your life where there's accountability, you're gonna perform well too. But JB, what are your insights on why people definitely will avoid the pain versus seeking out the wins, right? People just hate to lose more than they love to win. Explain to me why this. It's true for me too. Like I'm not unique, and where I think it's like I'm the same way. So tell me about that.
So one is, I don't think it's a flaw. I think sometimes people go, I'm broken because I'm not, doing things for the right. This is the right. This is the wrong, whatever. I think if you're gonna pull something out of yourself, you're gonna pull a better version out of yourself. There's no way that can be a bad thing for you. But you do have to work on kind of where your angles are at. So I think a lot of people, when they look at when they lose, it hurts their ego a lot more than how the positive side of if they win, right? And for me, I think I share that same thing. I never wanted to lose, and I think I went as far as to not only do I want to win, I want to break records. And so I think those two and two go the same. Losing and breaking a record to me are kind of the same energy on different sides. And so if that's how much weight we have, our mind's constantly in a negative thinking bias anyway. And so we don't want to hurt our confidence. We don't want to hurt our ego, nothing like that, because that's something really, really tough to build. At least it was for me early on in my career. Confidence was hard. And, I've talked about this in football that, I was a freshman that got moved up to the varsity team, and I didn't show my potential until halfway through the year on a kickoff when I smacked a kid and he actually fell over. I was like, "Oh, I can just hit these guys. These guys are just like me. I can hit them, no problem." But in my mind, I was like, "Oh, he's a senior. He's this. He has years of training. He's so strong. There's no way I could take him out." And the minute that you do is the minute that you find the confidence that has been there all along. You just been putting kind of a shadow over it. And so I think that's kind of where people stem from is they have these hurdles that are already in their mind anyway. And so when they lose something, it makes it way too real. And it's hard to digest. It's hard to figure out where you're gonna go. And for some people, it's a place that they've actually never been. And I think that has a lot to do with it. Is the fear of the unknown kind of plays into that.
Yeah. People like if you feel like you're gonna lose and look bad, the ego damage, like, oh, he might not they'll think less of me, I could be abandoned
Mhm.
ultimately, right? Versus, hey, I didn't win, but now people are watching, oh, I'm doing my best. I
Yeah.
didn't win, someone else is better, but I'm not some schmuck, right? So you're right, how you people will protect their ego. Also, to your point about putting those seniors, all those kids playing varsity up on a pedestal, same thing. If like, I'm a huge Rocky fan, so Rocky 4, when Drago gets cut and people are yelling, he's cut because he's never been cut
Hmm.
before, it's like pure shock. And then confidence just is through the roof. You did something, you saw that you had a shot at winning here, and he cut him. Next thing you know, Rocky's going ape shit on Ivan Drago in that movie. So once you go in to anything with a little bit of faith and hope and belief, but you still don't truly know and believe it until it's done and
Exactly.
you experienced it. So then once you're there and you've done it, now you're like, oh shoot, man. I bet if I do this whole cycle again, I got another shot at another win, right? If I believe and do all the things leading up to it. Now it's game day, let's go. It's funny here that on this prep sheet, like your whole sport is on speed, power, momentum, right? You start from a stationary spot. Next thing you know, you're spinning around a mile an hour, right? It says the art of momentum in mindset training. Now, most people don't just go into an hour-long meditation session, right?
Right.
So explain to me the art of momentum in mindset training.
So when I started to learn about mindset training, I learned pretty quick that every action had actions that happened before it that led to that result. Or every result had actions before it that led to that result. And so I learned, there's a concept called stacking the wins. And I learned that if I do little things right, it can lead to a big result. And so the little steps on the ladder is that momentum. And imagine trying to do a pull up every single time you go to a piece of a ladder, right? Versus being able to use the little things, using your feet, using this, using that, using your whole body to be able to work up a ladder. You can move much quicker than you did before. And so one of the things that I learned was how you start your morning is kind of the angle of the trajectory you can lead your day to. And so, if even if I woke up with a headache, with a stomach ache, with sore throat, I never once said, "Oh, I'm gonna have a bad day today." I hope those words never came out of my mouth. They never really jumped into my head. It was, "Oh, as soon as I get water, I'll be good." Right as rain is what I used to say. I'll be as good as rain. I'll be right as rain. As soon as I get a peanut butter jelly sandwich, I'll be right as rain. Don't worry about it. And so, like, I would state every injury I had, it was, "Hey, as soon as I do these training regiments, I'll be good. I'll be right as rain. We'll be fine. We'll be getting out of this." So momentum is crazy for the mind itself, and it's crazy for the work that you do. When you start building momentum in your confidence, all of a sudden you perform a little bit better too, just because your confidence is a little bit higher. And so the art of momentum is that it's entangled together. It's this kind of beautiful mesh of, when one thing goes right, another thing's going to build up too, and then I can boost both of them at the same time.
Beautiful, beautiful. It is true, the hope about stacking the wins. I've talked about a number of times on the show about stacking the wins for that SEAL swim, but it's true everywhere else. And ever since I heard Admiral McRaven's speech on making your bed every day, I make my bed every day. It just
Yeah, every
starts
day.
off. And some
Make your
days I
bed every
wake
day.
up, I'll walk out, I'll walk out of the bedroom having not made it, and then I'll turn around, I'm like, I'm not breaking a streak here.
Mm.
It's huge. It's huge. Few people get the lessons without the pain before it. A lot of times people have to learn the hard way, right? Talk about a time when you got beat, made a mistake, didn't do the thing, had to bounce back, and everyone makes mistakes.
Yeah.
The win, because our mantra at Athlete Builder is win the day. A lot of times winning the day is when you make a mistake or you take a loss. Normally, it might take you a half hour to bounce back at work or on the court. Maybe it's 3 or 4 minutes. So that a win becomes, can I bounce back in 20 minutes at work? Can I bounce
Mhm.
back on the court in under 30 seconds? Closing that loop, that bounce back loop. You have to expect there's going to be some setbacks. Talk about how and why you got beat and how you learned to bounce back quicker now that you're older.
So I'll tell you about the time that I didn't listen to my coach, and it ended up in a loss. So when we train for track and field, you go through your mundane warm ups. It's boring. You just want to push through it. One of the warm ups that we do in hammer throw is one handed warm ups on both sides, and doing a wind up. And it takes 30 minutes before practice. And I think this is a time where I was real confident myself. I felt like I could beat anybody. I think I had just gotten like maybe ninth in the nation on the leaderboard. And so I'm real confident in myself, and all I want to do is get in the ring and keep throwing. And so I would rush the warm ups, or I just wouldn't even do the warm ups. I would act like I was and didn't do it.
Mm,
And I did that for a week long. Went to my meet and I threw underneath what I could have thrown. I was like, "Ah, it was just a bad meet. We'll get the next one." Come to the next one, drop again. And so now I'm getting a little bit aggravated and getting a little mad about it. And now my practices are going to shit because now my mindset's not in it right away, and I'm off balance every throw, and I'm thinking I could just muscle through it and finish. My coach, he's real chill. He's always, my whole career, with everybody he's been with, he's been real chill. But during that practice, I just totally broke down. Was Nothing was going right. I was missing things. I was on the verge of hurting myself the way I was throwing. And he finally got mad and cussed me out for the first time I've ever seen ever. He got actually mad, red in the face, and he yelled at me. He said, "When are you gonna fucking listen? I'm so tired of this shit." And he kind of called me out in front of the whole team. I was supposed to be the guy to kind of lead everybody else. I led the weight room. I led warm ups, also, or I led plyometric training and all that stuff. And so here I am, supposed to be the leader of his team, and I'm not even doing the damn warm up like I should be doing. And so he calls me out, and he says, "When are you gonna learn that? that years of experience are gonna trump any feeling that you have inside your body. And I was like, damn, like he's real about that. Because this all stemmed from me being confident because I made the top 10 list. And I thought, I'm a badass dude. I'm gonna get in the ring and I'm just gonna throw every day. It's gonna be a fart throw every time. And so that was a big
Yeah.
lesson that I learned is don't let your confidence outwork your work. And I was someone that was willing to work every single day. And I just all of a sudden hit kind of that area of time where confidence led me instead of my work leading me. And I paid for it. I had critical meets where I could have won, could have had a championship under my belt, could have had a record under my belt. I mean, those are times I'll never get back. And so my coach was exactly right in calling me out, and it pushed me into a different level. And he gave me an explanation, and he's real quick to apologize. But he gave me an explanation of some other athletes that he's trained and what they've done to get in that area, and you call it kind of senioritis, if you will, just go through the motions. And he would show me the number one guy. He said, "Here's you, and here's the number one guy. This is what he does in practice." And he had emailed the coach. He said, "What's your guy do in practice?" And he did twice the amount of warm up that we did. And so that put everything into perspective. Is that if I want to be at the top, I got to do what the top guys are doing. And there's no one on the top that is
Yeah.
skipping a warm up. I can tell you that.
A couple of weeks ago, I'm out at Ohio State for their coaches clinic. They put on this thing where they just give to the local to any high school football coach, and it's so cheap and the value is ridiculous. The entire staff is broken down, and they're all working with the coaches. Their guest speaker was John Gruden,
Mm,
NFL Super Bowl winner, right? That's their guest speaker, and he talked about when he took over, he's looking for from sun up to sundown for 365 days. There's different tasks. Sometimes it's the off season, sometimes it's the postseason, sometimes it's the regular season, sometimes it's the weight room. And he's trying to find all these different tasks at different times, and you want to see what tasks could he get them to perform perfectly, and then he would add another one and another one, right? So one
mm,
of the ones he wanted early on was, I just want perfect walkthrough. So in a walkthrough week or a session that's leading up to a game, they're walking through the plays that they installed, etc. Because I want perfect walkthroughs. I want perfect walkthroughs this week. So just that one component, right? It's one piece of building a football team. He's like, I want perfect walkthroughs. And I'm like, oh man, really? Wow. So once you're great in one piece, you want to be great in the next piece. And it just fed and fed and fed into that culture, which I absolutely loved. JB, so the controlled chaos, the squat and 700, right? Got to be in your head a little bit. Few people are in their head all the time in the weight room to push through some of those numbers. You know, the energy a lot of times, especially in the college teams, it's high. People are getting hyped.
mm.
People are screaming for a big lift. What do you like to listen to when you're training?
Oh, and it's funny because a lot of people wouldn't expect this out of me. But I'm like a heavy metal rock kind of guy. I am a get my blood pumping as fast as it can go kind of guy. And so I like the heavy metal. Disturbed is probably my favorite band when it comes to that. And on
All
repeat,
right.
I would listen to Disturb the Animal. The animal inside. Like I would, oh boy, that would get me. I'm pumped up even just thinking about it. But that got me. My hair would start feel. I could feel my ear tingling and stuff, and I'm like, oh, we about to go, you know. But it gets me so fired up. That's my favorite song.
Here in your bucket list, it says you want to do a throws competition called Highland Games. Now,
Yeah,
my gym, we used to host Highland Games events and
is that
strongman
right?
and other things. So, oh yeah, powerlifting. We had powerlifting nationals here 2 years ago. CrossFit a year after year, charity events. But yeah, Highland Games a number of years. I was state chair for strongman. Why? Why have you not done a Highland Games yet?
So I want to go with my dad. So this happened. Uh, it would have been 2010. And my dad went to Ireland to visit Ireland. It's been his favorite place to go. And when he visited Ireland, they told him to go to Scotland and see the Highland Games. And so he said, "Yeah, cool. Let's go to Scotland and see the Highland Games." And so he was able to watch it later night. And this is kind of a little funny point. Later at the night, there was at the bar there was like a midget toss that you could do. And my dad just thought, dude, you would love this. You would love to do all this stuff. And I know it's kind of a wild thing to even think about. I was a guy that would just love throwing things, and he said, "Dude, you wear a kilt and all that, and you throw it." I was like, "Dude, this
Oh
is
yeah.
awesome. I would love this."
My wife's done it. She's 5'2". My stepdaughter, she's done it too. She did pretty well. Her husband. We're taking girls from the gym. Everyone's wearing kilts. The gym's colors are red and black, so the kilts were red and black for their tartan.
Yeah.
So man, it's awesome stuff. What's your favorite sports movie?
Favorite sports movie, Rocky 4. Rocky 4 for
Man, I
sure.
even referenced that. Nice.
Yeah, you did.
What's your favorite? I couldn't believe it. What's your favorite sport to watch?
My favorite sport to watch, I love football. I really do. And actually, I'm gonna pivot. Actually, I think rugby. New Zealand is New Zealand that does the hockey.
The All
The rugby.
Blacks.
Oh man, I love watching them boys because I mean everybody's a running back. This is my dream. I can just run whenever I want to. Yeah, get me into it. Early in my middle school career, they had a weight limit on it. I was always over the weight limit. They never let me have the football. And then when I got to high school, man, I was crushing everybody. I was running everybody over. I love watching. I don't really know the rules, but I love watching it. I love watching people just hit each other, pop right back up, throw it again, hit each other again. Love the high contact sports like that. So other than football, I would say rugby is just so invigorating.
My wife and I watched Six Nations. It's a documentary and goes over the prior year of rugby in Europe. We saw the All Blacks compete. They were here in the United States, up in Chicago, so we went to that. The New Zealand All Blacks, the haka that you reference,
Hmm.
is written out verbatim on my gym wall.
Is it really?
The New Zealand version and the English version. It's written out. And so we talked about songs. There's two songs I usually listen to if I'm going to do like a big squat, and one is Kid Rock's Ba With the Ba. But the other one I listen to more often is the haka. So I'm
Yeah.
listening to them. I crank that through the speakers in the gym if I'm doing like a heavy squat or a heavy sled or maybe a heavy Atlas dumbbell, but usually it's a squat because squat always made me the most nervous. Sometimes
Hmm.
deadlift too, but that was usually that. Those are my two songs. You got a book recommendation for us?
Me for, and this is for anyone that wants to learn what they can do to tap into building momentum themselves, building energy themselves, kind of the first thing you can do to start becoming a good athlete and elite person in general would be Atomic Habits for sure.
Bang. Huge. Love it. You got a hero and a villain?
My favorite hero, and it pains me to say this, but he's my favorite is Batman. But my all-time guy has been the Hulk, right? I love the Batman and what he does, but the Hulk and he's like me. You get fired up, you get angry, you use your emotion, you just kind of wreck things. I've always loved the Hulk, but I've always told people my favorite has been the Batman. So the Hulk is my kind of like my high school sweetheart, if you will. But being able to be strategic like the Batman is, and the recent movies that they've had, Batman is dude. He gets me going. I love him. A villain,
And a
Joker.
villain?
The Joker for sure. My
Which
favorite villain.
wh- which
He's just
version?
so dark and twisted. You just never see what he's gonna do next.
Yeah, but they've had about five different actors play it.
So
So do you have a movie villain, or is it just a character in the comic books in general? Because he's
so movie
so
villain for sure. It would have been the Dark Knight Rises. Which one is that? Val Kilmer? I think Val Kilmer was
so.
my favorite.
No, Dark Knight was with Heath Ledger.
Heath Ledger.
Yeah, he was the villain. He was the Joker
Who
going
was
up against Christian Bale.
Oh, then that's it. Yeah, that's my guy. Heath Ledger, then that's my guy.
That's your guy. Favorite lift?
Favorite lift is the clean and jerk. I was always a big clean guy. My hang clean was like 450, 465, something like that. Um, and then to be able to control yourself and jerk that up and the amount of power you build from it, one, it translates to literally every sport. And two, it's the quickest way to build power is to do the clean and jerk.
My son was in his last few months before he went to college to play football. He was still undersized, didn't eat enough, but still very, very capable. And we were working on building that explosive power. And so we just moved the jerk boxes over. His main power movements was behind the neck jerk
Yeah.
to maximize how much could he press, how much could he jerk over his head, and how violent could he be. You got a quote for us?
My favorite quote, I say it all the time. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're always right. So it's just
You got it.
testament to always have the right mindset.
Bro, where can people find you?
So Justin Baker, Justin JB Baker on Facebook, look for JB. My LinkedIn is probably I think I'll have to give you a link. I can't think of what my full student name is on there. And then Instagram, Justin Baker underscore 9010. I'm active on kind of all of those. If you like a little family content, you like to see me be a good dad, you can go to my TikTok, Justin Baker. But that's usually that's where you can find me.
Perfect. Everyone else out there, keep sending us emails at info@athlete-builder.com. Hit me up for the Mental Edge Academy this summer, high school and college teams. We're moving the needle. We're doing a lot of things. So the product was already outstanding, life-changing, revolutionary before the summer pieces that we added to it. We added more leadership over the summer. Even the coaches, I'm coaching burnout. There's just so much more value. So hit me up and ask about that. And if you are thinking about making an impact somewhere else, you want to sponsor a school or a team, bring mental performance training, mental health training, hit me up for that too. JB, great time again. I'm glad we got to work together and glad we hooked up through Mental Edge.
Oh,
And
for sure.
I really enjoyed our time today. Man, thanks so much.
Thank you. Appreciate being on
We'll
it.
see you. Yes, sir.